A proposal that recommends the Office of Management and Budget change the minimum population threshold for a metropolitan statistical area from 50,000 to 100,000, getting attention from leaders across the country. They're concerned about what that means for access to federal funding. MTN's Gabby Crevitt tells us there's been pushback on that possible change from elected leaders in Montana as well.
What might sound like a procedural, bureaucratic change of rules is actually a very big deal for local leaders in some Montana cities and for places across the entire country. Here in Bozeman, where the population is expected to break 50,000 thanks to the 2020 census, local leaders say this could mean losing out on some anticipated federal dollars.
Imagine, that you've always wanted to ride a roller coaster, and since 1950 the sign has said you have to be 4 feet tall in order to do that. You finally get to 4 feet tall, you go there, and all of a sudden they say, no, you got to be 6 feet tall. That's how we feel here in Bozeman.
Bozeman's Deputy Mayor Terry Cunningham describes the possible rule change as disappointing and frustrating.
What essentially we're doing is we're missing out on much needed funds and coordination for important things like housing and transportation and healthcare as well. It has a ripple effect throughout the entire community.
That's why Montana's senior senator introduced legislation to prevent that from happening.
I dropped this legislation in so that they knew we were in this fight for real. And we have visited with the folks at OMB. We have told them straight up that this is not a good rule change and that they need to pull back on it and go back to the 50,000 people level.
Senator Tester says plain and simple, places like Great Falls and Missoula, which have relied on grant funding for programs, could be cut off, and places like Bozeman denied before they could even get the chance.
This is not good for rural America, let's just put it that way. If we start taking away opportunities to get funding to improve these communities, it's going to impact growth, it's going to impact economic opportunity, and that's a bad thing for the entirety of Montana.
Tester says he's hopeful the Office of Management and Budget will rescind the rule change, but if not, now there's a bill to try and stop it.
It would be much easier for them just to do the right thing rather than expect Congress to act, but nonetheless, we're ready to go. If they're not going to do it, we will.
Reporting in Bozeman, Gabby Crevitt, MTN News.
And Gabby reached out to Montana Senator Sen Daines as well, who's also concerned about the OMB's proposal and said the implications of this shift would be significant, as up to half of the federal funding these cities normally receive would be redirected. I urge you to not adopt this change and carefully consider what effect this will have on communities that are metropolitan centers by all reasonable measure.